there shouldn't be any men talking about preventing a woman from having an abortion. None. None. None of you men carry babies.
What's your favorite curse word?
I can't say it. It starts with an M and it ends with a. Not ER.
I'm wearing this because my mom said that whenever I get online, I need to wear a suit jacket. And so I'm going to take her advice on this here because I want to make this video something that is taken serious. So a lot of people have been asking me, what are my thoughts on Vice President Kamala Harris, the election coming up? And so I'm going to share my ideas on that. And in particular, she did an interview on the Breakfast Club with Charlamagne the God. It was actually a Breakfast Club interview hosted by, I believe, iHeartRadio. And she was with Charlamagne the God. And I think it was perhaps her best interview. Now, first, before I get started, I want to say this. I can completely relate to how they mispronounce her name by calling her Kamala instead of Kamala. It's one of those things. It's just like my name in particular. My name is Khali, Khali, and people have called me Kaylee, Kylie, Kalia. I've heard it all. And for a while I used to think, well, how are people mispronouncing my name when my name is exactly like the great Khali or Muhammad Ali with just KH in the front of it? But yet and still they mispronounce my name.
And if Biden and Kamala, you don't have to say it, Kamala.
It reminded me of my own life and how, as a Black American, my name has been mispronounced as if I'm some person that's from another country and I'm not from here, as if they can't pronounce my name, as if they don't want to show me any respect. In the interview with Charlamagne the God, it starts off, I love the way they started the interview off, because there's this attack on Kamala Harris that the right wing, Fox News, Trump, and their people have created, basically saying that Kamala Harris isn't black. It's ridiculous. It's silly because, first of all, Kamala Harris actually looks like people that are in my family. So this attack on her blackness is silly. It's amazing how many black people buy into it. So I love the way they started this interview. Check this out.
How are you? Because you did just walk in. You was kind of late, so.
Well, I try to be on time.
Well,
Apparently, I'm 40 seconds late. You're right.
Well, you are black, so okay. Now,
yes, she is black, and I love how they joked that whole stereotype and how she left. It was actually funny to her. You know, I actually like that about her, that she's down to earth and she's a real person. She can take a joke, she can give a joke.
But it's not just you versus Trump, it's you versus misinformation.
Yes, that's true.
Right? And one of the biggest pieces of misinformation, one of the biggest allegations against you is that you targeted and locked up thousands of black men in San Francisco for weed. Some say you did it to boost your career. Some say you did it out of pure hate for black men. Please tell us the facts. What's the facts of that situation?
It's just simply not true. And what public defenders who are around those days will tell you, I was the most progressive prosecutor in California on marijuana cases and would not send people to jail for simple possession of weed. And as vice president, have been a champion for bringing marijuana down on the schedule. So instead of it being ranked up there with heroin, we bring it down. And my pledge is, as president, I will work on decriminalizing it because I know exactly how those laws have been used to disproportionately impact certain populations and specifically black men.
Mm-hmm.
Bang! There you have it. Remember that talking point that people were kicking about how she locks up black men and she's locked up all these black men in California, and you know, y'all went and repeated that and repeated that. I heard so many different people tell me that. And I'd ask them, where did you hear that from? Where did you get it from? Oh, well, everybody knows. It was a Fox News talking point. It was misinformation. It was disinformation. She just let you know. She was the most progressive in California. And on top of that, if you look at what the Biden-Harris administration have done thus far, she's right. They've been working on decriminalizing marijuana over the last 4 years. The other guy didn't do that. The other guy didn't do anything in regards to that. In particular, marijuana in Louisiana, where I'm from, where I live, we call it Louisiana here. Y'all call it Louisiana. But here, they used to throw black people away for a seed, for a weed seed. Remember when there used to be seeds in weed? Well, if you had one in your car or on your person, they took you to jail here in Louisiana.
I'm the police. I run here. You just live here.
It is about increasing the opportunity for home ownership, knowing that black people are 40% less likely to be homeowners in America. We have a history of legal and procedural obstacles to that home ownership, starting with the fact nobody got 40 acres and a mule, to redlining, to issues that this Detroit area and people around the country know to be real. So part of my plan is that we're going to give people a $25,000 down payment assistance to get their foot in the door to buy a home for first-time home buyers.
She's basically saying that I'm going to make it possible, not only for black people to own a home, but for all Americans to own a home. This is critical. There's homeless people all over the streets, everywhere, in every city. It doesn't matter where you go in the United States. The cost and the price of housing is through the roof. She's actually got a plan to do something about it. The last guy, he didn't have a plan for that. He didn't even care. I look forward, hopefully, to her being the president and being able to implement that because, yeah, we should all have a home. And, an extra $25,000 to put down on that the government will give you, man, it's going to allow everybody to basically have a home. And I'm with that. I think that the country would be better if everyone's needs were met. That would lower crime. That would lower some of the dysfunction that we see in society if everyone's needs are met.
So when I talk about extending the child tax credit, when I was vice president, I pushed that we would do it during our first year. And we reduced black child poverty in America by 50%. We did that. Mm-hmm. We can do that.
This is important. This is what we need. The other guy has nothing for your kids. He does not care.
So play YMCA. Go ahead. Let's go. Nice and loud.
Here we go, everybody.
About giving your family a tax break. You know who we did give a tax break to? The wealthy. The rich. That's who we gave a tax break to. Wake up, Trump supporters. Wake up, people that are on the fence that don't know what's going on. You're just voting off of vibes and not paying attention and listening passively to what's happening. Wake up. He didn't do anything for your family back then other than allow them to get COVID. Why would you believe that he's going to do something now?
One of the biggest challenges that I face is mis and disinformation.
Mm-hmm.
And it's purposeful because it is meant to convince people that they somehow should not believe that the work that I have done has occurred and has meaning.
The Republicans and Fox News and Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and the rest of these guys, they basically make up stories. They just say anything.
Your kid goes to school and comes home a few days later with an operation.
So again, the work that I have done through my career and then most recently even when I was in the United States Senate to help write the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act. Mm-hmm. Cory Booker and I work very closely on that.
Could you tell people why that didn't pass too? Give folks a quick civics lesson.
We couldn't get the votes in Congress.
We are responding to the cries in the street. We are taking them seriously. And we have proposed a prescription that actually responds to not just their demands, but the specific cases and the bodies that have just most recently been buried, much less the generations of black bodies that have been buried because of this issue. So don't anyone dare suggest we are standing in the way of progress. Let us all be clear about what is happening in the politics of this moment. The Republican bill has been thrown out to give lip service to an issue with nothing substantial in it that would actually save or would have saved any of those lives.
Stop listening to Fox and Friends, and they're running game on y'all.
Well, first of all, on the point of reparations, it has to be studied. There's no question about that. And I've been very clear about that position. I know what it means for an individual and a family to have home ownership. I also know, in the context of history, nobody got 40 acres and a mule. We have a history of a number of things, including redlining. Detroit knows it well. A history of, for example, something that still exists that I've worked on to address, which is racial bias in home appraisals. And we know home ownership is, black families are 40% less likely to be homeowners than others. And that home ownership is one of the surest ways to build intergenerational wealth.
She's letting you know that, hey, I am for social justice. Very rarely do we hear politicians talk about reparations for black folk. And I understand my white friends out there. There's a lot of you guys that are confused on that. That's part of the reason why this needs to happen, because we need to heal the country. We need to heal race relations. See, whenever we don't do anything about reparations for African Americans, and doing anything about the systemic racism that's happened over time in our history, we leave the wound open. And that's beneficial politically for specific groups, because certain groups use race, in particular the Republicans, use race to scare their constituents.
Because they want to take over what you got. They want to control what you have. They want reparation because they think the people that do the crime are owed that. They are not owed that.
Fight for our democracy. Flawed though it is, imperfect though it may be. Because there are very two real paths right now. The man has told you he intends to terminate the Constitution. The man has told you all these things.
I told them to peacefully protest. What? I told them to peacefully go down to the Capitol and protest. No, you snuck that in there, but you snuck that in there after you said we need to fight like hell or you won't have a country anymore. So let's get it straight, okay? Don't you're talking one thing, then you talk another, just so that you can have plausible deniability later on. Those of us that are intelligent are watching what Donald Trump is doing. We're watching you, homie, and we see what you're doing. You're not slick. You could fool some of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all the people all the time, Mr. Trump.
And he hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention they would do exactly what they did. 1 out of 3 women in America lives in a state with the Trump abortion ban. You know, every state except Virginia in the South has an abortion ban. You know where the majority of black women live? In the South.
Yeah.
In those same states that have some of the highest rates of black maternal mortality. And they want to strut around talking about this is in the interest of women and children, and they've been silent on an issue like black maternal mortality?
Women need to have control over their bodies. They're human beings. They deserve the right to have full control over their body. I've always found it absolutely stunningly ridiculous and goofy to see men arguing about how women need to, well, that we might have to punish them if they have an abortion, or, you know, women shouldn't be, it should be illegal for a woman to do to have an abortion. There shouldn't be any men talking about preventing a woman from having an abortion. None. None of you men carry babies. And I've known too many men over time that have gotten a woman pregnant and then you turned around and paid for an abortion. So it doesn't make any sense right now for you guys to all get behind Donald Trump and this ridiculous Supreme Court that is absolutely radical, reversing Roe versus Wade. Women need to have control over their bodies, and body autonomy needs to be in their power. Men, and there's a lot of men out there that think that they should control a woman's sexuality. Those days are over, baby. Them days are over. And thank God. Thank God for that. Because I have a daughter. Okay? And I want her to be in full control of her body. Not the government telling her what to do. Okay? I love women. I love my mother. I love all the women in my life. Trying to control a woman's sexuality is wrong. It's what men do all around the world, and it needs to come to a stop here in the United States so we can move forward. That's part of the reason why we need to have a female, a woman as the president of the United States.
A majority Democratic Congress fought to get those stimulus checks out, fought against resistance by the Trump administration, and won because we had a majority of Democrats in Congress. And that's why those checks went out. As we all know and grew up learning, Congress holds the purse strings. It was Congress that made that decision, and then Donald Trump, never being one to pass up an opportunity to give himself credit when no credit is due, put his name on those checks. And sadly, it resulted in people thinking Donald Trump was responsible for and directly responsible for putting money in their pocket, when in fact, it was a Democratic majority Congress that was responsible for those checks going out.
It's so frustrating to see a great deal of the population not pay any attention and not know what is going on. Trump was so slick, he knew that Democratic Congress was going to pass those stimulus checks, and there was nothing he could do about it. He was against it. Go back and look. Go Google it. They were against, Trump was against sending you anything. Till this day, right now, there are people, not just black people, but people in general, that believe that Donald Trump sent the stimulus checks. I wanted to break down that interview for you guys and give my 2 cents on some of the things that Kamala Harris said in that interview and my thoughts on it. And I hope that you guys were able to take something away from my interpretation of this. I'm a black man, and there's this notion out there that black men are not supporting Kamala Harris, and in a large enough numbers, you know. And so I wanted to show, I felt like it was important for me to come out and be an example of a black man who is supporting Kamala Harris. All right? And I hope that this video is able to make an impact on some minds and maybe sway some people into how they're thinking about Kamala Harris and this upcoming election. This is very important, and that's why I wanted to make this video. I know that some of you are going to completely disagree with everything that I've said in this video, and that's fine. Put your disagreements in the comment section. Let us hear them. We'll play that game too. Others, for everybody else, I want to say peace and thank you for all the new subscribers to my channel and everybody that's been down and stayed down. I want to say thank you so much. And with that being said, peace. Hey y'all, listen, High Velocity Philosophy is a brand new channel, and I'm just going to do whatever I want on here. And if you like this kind of content, I really appreciate it if you liked, shared, and subscribed to this channel, all right? Peace.